I have to say it's a bit hard to follow this, but I'll do it anyway. So here's a tweet from the end of January. It's by an American journalist called Jason Cherkins. I don't know him. I looked him up on the internet. He was nominated for a Pulitzer Prize in 2015. That same week, there was a massive wave of layoffs in the US. Around 2,000 journalists lost their jobs that week, both in digital media and broadcasting, and also in local news. And unfortunately, this has become quite normal. Couldn't find the numbers for Europe, but in the US, around a quarter of editors and reporters have lost their jobs over the last decade. So a lot of people are leaving journalism. We are losing voices, right? They are teachers like her up there. They become pilots like him. They write obituaries for a job. And look at this poor fellow, what he has to do now. So, but users have problems too, because people are really exhausted by the news. You know, there's a term, news fatigue. People trust the news less and less, as we've heard in the previous talk. But they still want to make sense of the world, right? So one solution, not this solution, of course, is called membership, and it involves journalists talking to their audiences a lot. Some call it the membership revolution, and today I want to talk about that. And why would I know about it? So just to introduce myself, I'm a journalist. I'm also a founder of these two companies. One is a digital magazine called Krautreporter, the other a membership platform called Steady. And you might be thinking memberships is just a different word for subscriptions, and that's not completely wrong, but please take a look at this slide. So there are two dimensions. One is privileges, so do I get something in return for my money, or is there no exclusive content? And the second dimension is passion. Do people care about the publication, the purpose, the voice, or is it a cooler, more transactional relationships? So if there's no passion and no exclusive access, then probably nobody will pay. But if there are no privileges when I pay, but I care deeply about the purpose, then it's more like a donation. And if I get exclusive content, but I don't care who I get it from, it's a subscription. And only if two things come together, I would call it a membership. Of course, that's not a clear distinction, but I've tried to put some media brands on here so you can check where you think your publication would fit. So for example, in the upper left-hand corner, subscriptions, I don't really mind where I get my music from. I take the best app or the cheapest price, whereas BuzzFeed News, Huffington Post are made for reach. And NPR and The Guardian are probably more like a donation because there's not a lot of exclusive content. And then there's these new membership-driven, member-funded publications in the upper right-hand corner that are based on talking to their audiences and having a relationship with them, and by just engaging on a very different level. And now in the past year, something interesting has happened because a lot of other outlets have also moved into that membership space on top of their existing business model. So it's not a business model that replaces another one. It is fast. Anyway, so the good thing, I think, is we don't have to choose. They can work together, memberships and subscriptions for niche audiences, for individual journalists. And here are some examples from the Steady platform. Martin used to work in national television. He kept writing a newsletter, and now he lives from that newsletter by just asking his readers for money. And these are Nicola and Hinak, science reporters. They weren't happy with the way journalism in that space was funded, so they asked their readers for direct membership contributions. This is my favorite example, Stefan from Bucharest. He has just started his own magazine this month, and they funded 100,000 people in a country where oligarchs are in control of big parts of the media system. And there are 450 outlets like that just on Steady, and on other platforms there are many more. What's interesting is that a lot of them are outside of traditional media. So they are trying to save their voice by just teaming up with their audiences. And their audiences are really willing to do that. I mean, people love journalism, they feel a deep connection, and they want to be part of it, and they want to pay because they want to, not because they have to. Thanks.